That's right, we're back in the world of Pokemon for another type challenge. This time with only normal types. Now, in my bug-only series, I used any bug I could get my hands on, because bug types are bad and any help I could get would be needed. However, normal types are not nearly so weak, so in order to keep this challenge interesting, I have decided to also only be using single-type Pokemon. So only pure normal types will be allowed on my team. That greatly reduces the number of Pokemon I can access, meaning I'll need to really be creative in using every Pokemon I get to the fullest. In theory, at least. Normally is easily my least used type in Pokemon, so maybe this will be easy. Who knows? Start by picking Trico. This means my rival will get the fighting type Blaziken, making this challenge a bit more difficult. Will I regret this? Who can say? Then fight Brendan, and lose. And unlike other games, this fight is not optional. It's also not interesting because I can't actually catch Pokemon, so I'm stuck using my grass starter. So I grind very briefly so I can actually beat Brendan, then head back to the lab and get my first Pokeballs. Time to encounter my first Pokemon, a Zigzagoon that I name Ziggy, because I wasn't feeling original today. Except its nature was not what I wanted. So let's catch a few more until we get the one we want with the nature we want. Now, I'm not normally too picky about nature, but the first gym leader is Rock type, and I need to beat it with only one Zigzagoon, because it's the only normal type you can catch before the first gym. So I better hope Headbutt is able to do some work. I end up settling on a female Zigzagoon named Zaggy, then fight some Wurmples and decide to set up a text in OBS, so I know when I have been interrupted mid-recording by my cat. It is a very subtle overlay. Given that I plan to cheat in infinite rare candies to avoid needing to grind, I'm actually uncertain why I am killing Wurmples. Did I want some EVs? No idea. But I set up the cheat and give myself infinite rare candies. As in my prior series, my Pokemon will be limited to the highest level Pokemon of each gym or Elite Four member. For now, that is 15. Talk with my awful dad, who is a gym leader, and then be forced to watch Wally catch a Pokemon. Very boring stuff. Then onward to Petalburg Woods. And the very first Pokemon I encounter is a Slakoth? A normal type I didn't actually know was here, but I can use it. It's apparently a 5% spawn chance, and it was literally the first Pokemon I encountered. I really should bring up some encounter tables for the rest of this playthrough. Don't get me wrong, Slakoth isn't great. It has Truant, so it skips every other turn, and it doesn't have its final evolution's high stats to make up for it. But it does have Yawn to put Pokemon to sleep, and it is a second Pokemon to bring against the first gym, which has doubled my chances. Actually, with Truant, it's probably closer to 1.5. No interesting encounters between me and the first gym, so let's dig into that. And Roxanne is a pain in the butt. I had really hoped a Headbutt with its 70 base power and stab would do more damage, but it does not. Rock Tomb does do good damage against me though, and it reduces my speed. I send out Couch, which can put the Geodude to sleep and use Slakoth to heal, but it's pretty clear this isn't going to work. I decide to lead with Couch and use Yawn to put the Geodude to sleep. I can then switch into Zaggy to use Tail Whip to reduce Geodude's defense. And yeah, no, it's better, but only a little. I'm still nowhere close to taking down Roxanne's weaker Pokemon. Okay, so I realized at this point I can actually get 2 more normal types Pokemon, because I really should have done more research before I started this run. Because my memory of Ruby is, spotty. I grab a Whismur named Woes, also not a very good Pokemon, but it pads out my numbers, and its final evolution Exploud is pretty good. And because I can, I decide to catch a Skitty, a very weak normal type that only has a 2% spawn rate, and it's pretty crappy, so probably not worth it, but every edge we can get. I name it City for some reason. It's not strong, but Attract and Q-Charm might be useful. Get my 2 new team members up to level, and it's back into the gym. After several futile attempts, I get a fight where I lead with Zaggy to Sand Attack the Geodude to miss, then switch to Couch to put it to sleep, and Tail Whip its defense down. Then Headbutt it to death. Next, I send in City to growl the Nosepas's attack down and switch to Woes to spam Uproar. Couch puts it to sleep and sends Zaggy back out to Tail Whip and Headbutt. Thanks to all the stat reductions, Couch is able to use a combination of Yawn to put it to sleep, Slack off to heal, to bring Roxanne's nose pass and secure victory. Oof. I really was not expecting that fight to be that difficult. Having no non-normal type attacking moves really made that more difficult than it needed to be. But it's time to move on. Surely it can't get more roadblocky than that. With Gym 1 finally beaten, we can actually get on with the challenge. Head into Rust Turf Tunnel to rescue their Wingull from a Magma Grunt. It is also at this point that I realized that Woes has Howl, and so could have easily boosted their attack stat in the gym fight. I had confused it with Roar, which is a useless move. Take a ferry to a new island and into a cave, grab a Silk Scarf, which I can equip to a Pokemon to increase their normal type damage, which is great for me, and it's gym time again already. I'm a bit concerned about the fighting gym because all of my Pokemon are weak to fighting, and only fighting. Get my party leveled up for the gym, and Couch evolves into Vigoroth. It loses Truant and gains Insomniac, so it can't sleep at all. It is also a good bit stronger than it was, which is great news. Its moveset is still meh. I immediately try to encore the Machop into Bulk Up, which is an idea, but fail, then yawn to put it to sleep. This lets me switch into Zaggy, who can deal just no damage against the Machop with Headbutt. This matchup obviously goes very bad, so second attempt. Just lead with Zaggy and Headbutt. Goes better, still bad though. Send Couch back out, and actually the Scratch did decent damage. But unlike Zaggy, Couch can slack off to heal back up and then scratch it to death. I may be weak to fighting moves, but they are not resistant to normal moves. I then use Uproar to deal damage, forgetting it will wake up the Makuhito because I'm an idiot. Woes goes down, and all that is left is City. I use a track to hopefully burn some of its turns, then sing it to sleep. While City's damage is really bad, the combination of these moves and a critical hit actually brings down the gym. I was so sure that City was going to be completely useless, but for one shining moment, it was good. Then immediately teach Bulk Up to Couch so I can finally have a setup move. After a brief detour into Granite Cave to chat with Steven, we take the boat onwards to Slateport, where I spend just a comical amount of time not realizing how to advance the plot. North to Route 110, and we encounter Brendan again, who gets pretty effortlessly bodied. Yeah, the rival in this game is not particularly challenging, but Zaggy does finally evolve into Lanoon, a considerable stat upgrade. So very exciting. This gets us to the next town, and we get leveled up for the gym, during which Woes also evolves into Loudred. And we grab the bike before I forget, then fight Wally, and this fight is nothing. And it's Wattson time. Plan starts with Yawn, and I immediately get paralyzed. This kills the plan to set up, and the confusion that follows is not an improvement. Okay, let's give that another shot. First, we give Couch Rock Smash. Not great to give a weak HM to a team member, but it is fighting type, which hits Steel and Rock for super effective. Next, I give Couch a Cherry Berry, which heals Paralysis. This still fails because Magnemite just spams Thunder Wave if your Pokemon isn't paralyzed. Then I realize my master plan. Zaggy knows Sand Attack, so I can lead with her, use Sand Attack until she faints. Once she goes down, I switch in Couch. The Cherry Berry and reduced accuracy ensure that Couch doesn't get paralyzed. Then I can use Bulk Up for setup. Once the Magnemite actually lands a Thunder Wave, the Cherry Berry is used, and I can just spam Rock Smash. Sidestepping the many statuses means I can one-shot every remaining Pokemon Wattson has with either Rock Smash or Scratch. There are really more Rock and Steel-type Pokemon in this game than I expected. But that's still 3 gyms down, 5 to go. Back into a cave to clear the way with Rock Smash. This gives me Strength, a way better attacking move than Scratch for Couch to use for the rest of the playthrough. Time to go on a biking odyssey through a hot mountain, then through ashy grass. Here I catch a Spinda, another normal type that isn't generally very good. I name it Beyblade for some reason. And I reach Fall Arbor Town, which I don't think has anything of note, so we just move on with our lives. In the grass to the west, we encounter Zangoose, another normal-type Pokemon. Zangoose isn't generally seen as very good, but its low base stat total hides a great stat spread. It has a pretty high speed stat and a very high attacking stat. Combined with access to Slash and Sword Stance means Zangoose can be a very effective physical sweeper. I name it Zan because I am lazy. Meteor Falls exists. I have no notes on this place, so I assume nothing interesting happened here. Then I got lost, apparently. I don't have any notes on it, but I just watched 5 to 10 minutes of me looking over the in-game map, trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be. And the answer is take a gondola up a volcano. Obviously. Maxi Fight and his mighty Enna has Intimidate. This means I have to bulk up one more time than normal. And despite a sand attack, Couch hits more than he misses, and Strength bodies Maxi's entire team. Maxi is another fight that is going to continue to disappoint. Hopping down the mountain sees us at Lava Ridge Town and the site of our next gym, Flannery. Flannery's team in this game is just 2 Slugmas and a Torkoal, so I'm not overly concerned about this fight. And I am correct not to be. While Couch's HP gets low initially, Yawn and Bulk Up takes out the Slugmas and most of Torkoal's health. Couch does go down, but Zan can finish off the fight very easily. That's Gym 4, and these are actually going quite smoothly. First gym was nearly a run-ender, and then Wattson steal Magnemites, but otherwise it wasn't a big problem. And our next destination is back to a place we've already been to take down Gym 5. That would be our father, who also uses a team of all normal types. How bad can it be? He leads with Slacking, and it's time for the Yawn Sweep. Truant means his Slacking can't immediately kill me while I bulk up. Once it wakes up, my Insomniac makes his Yawn do nothing. Strength KOs in 2 hits, and his second Slacking similarly goes down. I send in City to attract the Norman's Vigoroth, and then try to put it to sleep, because I apparently don't have object permanence. Then I send out Zan, who can stand to trade some attacks with the Vigoroth to bring down Norman's last Pokemon. Another gym down, and the only issue I had was forgetting Vigoroth had Insomniac immediately after it triggered on my own Pokemon, because I am an idiot. Do a brief side quest for Wattson, not because I want to, but because it gives the Thunderbolt TM, although none of my Pokemon can actually learn Thunderbolt, at least not any that I want to learn it. More trekking through the wilderness, and we arrive at the Weather Institute. Fight through some Team Magma Grunts that don't deserve screen time, and we get our next Pokemon, Castform. This is another Pokemon that is normally kind of disappointing, but can actually be quite useful. Its unique ability has it change forms depending on the weather. It can also set up all of the weather types. It's like budget terastallization. And its unique move Weather Ball doubles in power and weather, and gains the typing of whatever weather is currently in effect. Time for another Brendan fight. I set up the Sun against Whalmer to weaken its water moves, but that does give me a weakness to water, which is not great. Set up the Rain to weaken Combuskin, and send out Zaggy to surf it away. Last is Shroomis, who falls to 2 headbutts and a slash from Zan. I'm trying to remember if any Brendan fight has ever been interesting. An invisible Pokemon blocks our way, so we have to advance to talk with Steven to be able to unmask the Kecleon. We also catch a Kecleon, because it is a normal type. I never use it, but it could probably have been useful. That nonsense aside, it's time to actually do the gym, which is Winona. Castform can make it hail to then Weather Ball her flying Pokemon. The evasiveness of our first Pokemon isn't, ideal. Skarmory, then being Steel type, also does not help. Thankfully, Woes can take it down with an Overheat. Pelipper loves to protect, but eventually Stomp takes it down too. Her final Pokemon is an Altaria, which can be very scary, and Couch gets bodied, so I switch in Beyblade and put it to sleep with Hypnosis. This gives Zan just enough time to switch in, Swords Dance, and take out the Altaria before it can Dragon Dance sweep my entire team. At this point, I have Fly, and I can use it for fast travel, but none of my Pokemon can learn Fly. So I run out and catch a Tropius, the nearest Pokemon I can catch that actually can learn Fly. It means I'll be down a Pokemon, but honestly that's fine. I've only really been using 5 of them anyway. Time to trek through the rain south from Four Tree City. Then surf across the sea. Spend some time exploring Mount Pyre, even though I don't want anything in the interior. I've just genuinely not gotten this far in a Gen 3 playthrough, so I really don't know where to go. Up the outside of the mountain, and it's more Team Magma nonsense. And we're done here. I guess. Okay, Team Magma now has a submarine, and it's time for Lily Cove. Here we fight Brendan, but I looked away from the video for a minute and the fight was over, so it couldn't have been anything approaching interesting. Lily Cove does have a department store, which is good news because that means TMs. None of which I purchased, but some of them could be useful later on. if Cast Form needs a bit more oomph to get through a rough fight. East of Lily Cove, we find another magma hideout. Nothing interesting happens here. Moving on. More surfing brings me to Mossdeep City, home to Gym 7. Tate and Liza, and their very annoying sliding puzzles. But the puzzle is solved, and it's time to face the twins themselves. While leveling up, Couch tries to evolve, and I cancel it, because Vigoroth is more useful. But then I get distracted, and it evolves anyway. Whoops. That's probably fine. Woes also evolves into Exploud. While the twins are both Psychic-type trainers, their Pokemon are also both Rock-type, so I lead with Cast Form and Zaggy. Because the twins only have 2 Pokemon, and this is a double battle, no point in setting up. Instead, I have Cast Form make it rain to become Water-type and boost the damage of Water-type moves. This boosts Zaggy's Surf power and means Cast Form gets Stab-boosted Water-type Weather Ball. The fight quickly becomes a 1v2, and then a 0v2. Seriously, why is this the 7th gym? These small children are not very good trainers. Gym 7 completed, and it's time for even more plot. Chat with Steven to get the Dive HM that we can now use, except none of my Pokemon can learn it, so we must head out to sea and grab the first dive-worthy Pokemon. We can then reach the next Magma Hideout, which is full of tedious puzzles. Whoop, it's cat time again. And it's time to fight Maxie again. Send out Couch to yawn, then Zan to set up with Sword Stance. I lose some speed, which isn't ideal, but fortunately Zan has Quick Attack and crits twice in a row. Camera Up then boosts its special defense against a physical attacker, and a single slash takes it down. Groudon awakens, it's very bright, temperatures are rising, and we need to stop it before the ocean boils. Also in the game! Sutopolis is our next destination, and we want to do the gym. But first we need to deal with this whole Groudon situation that the champion and a gym leader have decided to entrust to a small child. And the Groudon fight does not go well. Plan is to set up rain to negate the sun, but then Cast Form gets one shot, send out Couch to yawn, then switch to Zan, who gets one shot by Fire Blast. So I send out Zaggy to surf Groudon, but wow, that is not that much damage. Groudon wakes up and takes down Zaggy, so back to Couch we go. This time to take advantage of her huge stat total. Fire Blast takes her out before she can finish the fight, so Woes has to hop in and stomp from low HP to stop Groudon. Ecological disaster averted, but only in the game. We can take on the 8th gym leader Wallace. Unfortunately for him, ice types are terrible, and he leads with Love Disc. Yawn to put it to sleep, then spam Sword Stance to max out my attack. This lets me sweep the entire rest of his team using Slash. Even the normally bulky Milotic fails to survive due to a crit. I actually don't know if the crit was necessary, but I did crit, and it did die. And it's time to take the long road to the Elite Four. Just as soon as I figure out which way that actually is. And Victory Road, which is always annoying to get through, especially because I have no memory for these sorts of areas. So I have to redo it every time, or look up a walkthrough, even when I have done it before. And it's the final Wally fight. Yawn the Altaria and start sword dancing, except the Altaria switches out. One-shot the Delcatty, because it's a Delcatty. Then one-shot the Altaria with Slash, and the Rosalia with Aerial Ace. Switch in the Woes against the Magneton to overheat. It goes down against Gardevoir, but I send in Zan, who can bypass Double Team with Aerial Ace. Knew I was right to teach Zan Aerial Ace. And there's nothing else to do but take down the Elite Four. I box my HM Pokemon and level up my full team for the first Elite Four member, then buy healing items for between matches, though in retrospect, fewer actual healing items than I should have bought. Flint is first, the Fire-type Elite Four member. This is a pretty standard sleep into Sword Stance. The reduced accuracy from Sand Attack isn't ideal, but I decided to use Aerial Ace to bypass the accuracy reduction where possible. It's not the best idea because it's a weaker attack, but I can't miss. Sharpedo is faster than Zan. That is a problem. Switch in Woes, who can Shockwave the Sharpedo, but fails to take it out. Zaggy is fast enough to take it down with Slash, but then Absol crits with a Sword Stance boosted Slash. Couch is back in. It may be truant, but its stats are high enough. Also, Shiftry fakes out on the Truant turn, which is very funny. Shiftry tries accuracy shenanigans while Flint heals with full restores, but Couch is able to ignore the accuracy reductions to bring home the W. I was not expecting that first fight to be that sloppy. Let's hope these fights improve. Phoebe is a ghost-type specialist, so many of my attacks are completely unavailable to me. Because I forgot to buy the HP items I should have, I come into this fight at less than full HP. But fortunately, Aerial Ace can hit ghosts, and I'm able to sweep most of her team. And yes, I did use a full restore in battle here, apparently forgetting I wasn't using items in battle. Don't worry, I have to redo this fight in a bit anyway, and I didn't use them in the refight. When Zan goes down, I send in Woes to finish off the fight. Okay, better than Flynn, not too bad. Next up is Glacia, the Ice-type trainer. Wait, that's right. Wallace is a water specialist, not an ice specialist. And ice is a trash type, so I can yawn into Sword Stance. The hail is bad for the constant chip damage, but that's not quite enough to bring down Zan. Fully set up, Zan is able to slash through Glacia's entire team. She really doesn't have anything that can answer against Zan's 6 times boosted attack and slashes. I've heard Zangoose is bad, but honestly it's really crushing it in this normal-only run. Next is Drake, the Dragon-type master. He leads with Shelgon, so normal strat of Yawn into Sword Stance, but Rock Tomb reduces Zan's speed, which is not good. Boosted Slash takes down Shelgon, but Altaria is faster and paralyzes. Flygon uses Sandstorm into Dig, and this fight is not going my way. Second attempt goes the same, but this time no Rock Tomb, so no speed loss. With that, I can one-shot Altaria before it can Dragon Breath. Flygon is still faster than me and sets up Sandstorm. I try Quick Attack against the second Flygon, but it's not a one-shot, and Drake and I exchange Quick Attacks while he heals. Finally, the Salamence, which my Quick Attack misses once, then takes out most of its health, but Zan goes down. Couch comes in next and can take out the last of its HP with Strength. Next, it's Champion Steven, and there is a problem I did not realize with the minimal research I did leading up to this fight. 5 of his 6 Pokemon are resistant to normal types, which means my normal strategy of Yawn into Sword Dance Sweep is, not really viable as is. I do give it a shot, but my Pokemon are not strong enough for a straight fight, and my move coverage is just not wide enough to get me through this. No amount of last-minute finagling is going to fix this. I need to back out and change my setup. And actually, the only thing I need to pick up is one very specific TM. Back in Sutopolis, by talking to this random man, he gives the TM for Brick Break, a 75 base power fighting type move. Accounting for Stab, it's not as good as Slash, but it hits the Steel and Rock types Normal is ineffective against for super effective damage. It is also super effective or neutral against Steven's entire team. I go back through the Elite Four more easily now that I know their moves, and without using a full restore against Phoebe like an idiot. And now back to Steven, which in my script I have spelled differently than every other instance of Steven. He still has all of his Steel and Rock type Pokemon, but this time I have an attack move to actually hit them with. I yawn into Zan using Sword Dance, but also Zan resists Toxic thanks to her immunity ability, which I forgot about, but is very nice. Skarmory does get up spikes, but Brick Break deals enough neutral damage to it and nearly brings it down in one hit. Next up is Armaldo, which is also only neutral to Brick Break, but it still goes down in 1. Claydol goes down in 2 quick attacks, but it does set up Reflect. Its Earthquake reduces Zan to yellow before it goes down. Then comes Aggron, quad weak to fighting, but the Reflect is concerning. Or it would be, except Brick Break's secondary effect breaks through barriers. So it breaks Reflect and one-hit KOs the Aggron. Cradily is another one-shot, but then comes Steven's ace, Metagross. Brick Break is neutral and can't quite kill in one hit, so I send out Woes, who has Overheat, for exactly this scenario. After surviving in red HP from Meteor Mash, Woes brings down the last of Metagross's HP, and the fight is won. And that's it! Normal type only Pokémon Ruby completed. And that was a really interesting run. I normally avoid normal type Pokémon and mono type Pokémon now that I think about it, but that run had a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'll talk more about that in the summary video in a few weeks, so for now, drop a like, consider subscribing, hit the bell thing, But, regardless, have a lovely day and a safe trip home.